Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Being Christ podcast. I'm Jade Michael. I'm here with one of my most favorite humans in the world, Dijon Bowden, and today we're just going to dive into a little bit more about our work and our stories so that you can know a little bit more about us as you go on this journey of what it means to be Christ with us.
Yeah, we're excited to just share more about who we are, how Jade and I came to know each other, and what our journey has been like. We had a shared excitement of Christ, and specifically Yeshua as an embodiment of Christ and Mother Mary in that particular lineage. And we nerded out, passing back esoteric teachings, and we've recently started studying a series called The Way of Mastery, and we're listening to the first book right now, The Way of the Heart. But before we start going into all the things we're learning and how that applies to our life, which we'll be doing in future episodes, we just wanted to introduce ourselves. So who should go first, Jade? You want to tell people what you know of me, or me go first?
I will tell people what I know about you first.
Okay, great.
So, my first interaction with Dijon, he slid into my DMs with some totally unsolicited advice on how I could make an Instagram reel more engaging. and his advice was spot on. It was spot on. And then he just continued to support me in that way, and all of the advice he gave just kept not only being the advice that illuminated the next step on my path, but also gave me all of the pointers to make it really easily integratable. And that helped me build this instant connection with him, because I was like, oh, this man is really supportive and he really cares. And then we started connecting more. We started talking about Christ consciousness, and it was like, holy shift. Okay, like you are so committed to this Christed path. This is so extraordinarily inspiring. And now Dijon has become one of the closest and most dear people in my life, and he has stabilized more Christed consciousness in his vessel than anybody I have ever met. And he is so patient. I have never once felt rushed by this man, and sometimes I can be taking my sweet ass time to do things, and he's just so patient and considerate, but also sharp. And he will just cut through any bullshit. And that's how I know he's truly anchored in that truth, that love of God, because love is fierce and it's also soft. And it moves through him in both of those textures, which is just so beautiful. And then he does so much service for the community. He runs Dharma Glow, which is an extraordinary event company holding online breath work, meditation, EFT tappings, a lot of just offerings to bring the community together, in-person events like the Glow Up 2 that just go off, bridging that gap between Christ consciousness and culture, because that's one thing that Christ consciousness has been missing a long time, is like the culture, the music. Let's make it fun. Let's make it sexy. Let's make it danceable. Let's make this a movement that people want to come in because it feels good. It sounds good. It's pleasurable. And so he's a master architect of culture and infusing the systems that bring culture, that bring community together with the essence of Christ consciousness. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my understanding of Dijon Bowden.
Wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate that reflection. Unsolicited advice sounds about right. It was just that I saw your profile because you were in a joint reel with one of my other friends, and I clicked on your profile and I saw you dropping these really amazing codes in this really powerful way. And like your posture was really strong. Like you were so eloquent. Your tone was really strong. Like everything about it was really cool, except that you were like 10 feet away from the camera. So couldn't really hear. And then there were like no captions. And I was like, they could be so much better if you were a little bit closer and there were captions. It would just make it so much better. And I want to say that I liked your post and like was giving you love first, and then I said I have some ideas that I can send to your DM. I think that's how it went down.
That's probably true. That's
Yeah.
probably true.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, I think that the initial thing that I just felt was a lot of like respect and reverence for the being and the teacher that you are. And then you ended up coming on the Dharma Glow podcast. So I heard your story, and I'm sure that we'll go deeper into that yourself. But long story short, overcame, mental illness and depression and anxiety, and like for multiple decades, and was able to come out the other side of that kind of suffering portal with a unique modality to help other people heal and master their mind. And it's even got a cool name, neurosovereignty. So just anyone who has gone into their own shadow and come out the other side in the spirit of service, but also doing it in a unique way, just garners a lot of respect. And yeah, it's also just very easeful and enjoyable to connect with you, because I feel like you can meet me on multiple levels. Like, we like to nerd out about these esoteric things, but we also like to dance to hip hop music and, um, folk music and all different types of things, like write poetry. Like, there's just a wide array of things we can connect on. And I feel like that really is the essence of what we're here to explore, is that being a Christed being doesn't mean you have to look one way or dress one way. You can be yourself, because being authentic is the highest vibration. And that means exploring the full range of your humanity without being overly attached to whatever it is you're experiencing in the moment. I think I've witnessed us both learn how to process our experiences more and not get stuck in story, and just acknowledge a feeling without over identifying with it, and holding that space for each other, and then developing community around people that were also interested in doing the same thing. So yeah, Jade's been my partner in Shine for the last year and a half, steadily, like, more intentionally creating spaces for people to explore Christ consciousness within their own being. And that has culminated in this podcast. So yeah, it's really an honor to take the next step on this journey of awakening and integration with you. So thank you so much for doing it with me.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's an honor to be doing this with you. I've truly learned so much. I've learned so much from this man, so much from our interactions. And that's been a big driving force of why I wanted to lean in and do this podcast, because this man has upgraded my consciousness in so many ways, including the consciousness of my body, my embodiment, my ability to be present in my body in the present moment, which, if you're trying to outrun the present moment, you will miss your entire life. Because God is the present moment. The present moment is the whole point. And so being able to curate the space to conversate with you, to bring forward your wisdom and your knowledge and your codes to more people, just feels like one of the best uses of my time, quite frankly. And I would love to hear a little bit more about your story, because I know that you have overcome some serious mental health hurdles yourself, and that the teachings of Christ were really instrumental in pulling you out of that darkness and resurrecting you into the man that you are now.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. So I feel like the reason why I am settled into a certain level of inner peace and maturity is because I have traversed so many paths to their end to know that that's not it. And
That ain't it.
I'm 42 now, so I've had a good amount of time to explore things, and I think my core wound from my childhood was the wound of abandonment, because my parents got divorced when I was 2. So that creates some sort of unworthiness in the psyche. And I also did not have a male figure around to helped me become a man. It's something that I had to figure out through trial and error. And my mom is amazing and we have a great relationship. But there's a reason why we have two parents, because they each bless us with certain energetic codes from their presence. So as much as I love women and a mother's love, a woman cannot teach a man how to be a man. Only a man can teach a man how to be a man. And when I was learning about how to be a man over the course of my life, it wasn't easy. And one of the biggest hurdles I had to get over was to view relationships as a place to give, because being a provider isn't just a financial thing. Being a provider is providing a safe space for people to feel comfortable in, providing a framework for an interaction to happen in a way where people can be understood and feel met, creating things and initiating things that other people can then add their creativity to. And since I was operating from this abandonment wound, which really the core emotion there is like unworthiness and or rejection, I often sought validation in external things. So it might be wanting people to appreciate something I created and wanting to be seen, or wanting to be chosen by someone I was interested in dating, or wanting to be liked and accepted. And all of these things are innocent and understandable. But the way that manifested was unconscious performing and some gaps between my authenticity and what I thought I needed to do to be loved. Because I thought, oh, I came into this world and for some reason I did not receive the love or relationship that I wanted. So I must have to do something to be worthy of that. And I did a lot of things, right? Like it was a very deep journey, but ultimately, even when you get the validation you're looking for, it doesn't fill you up, because that validation has to come from the inside out. So it can actually even be more triggering when people are trying to give you externalized validation or love, because when it hits down at that core of yourself that's not healed yet, you're not able to receive it. So then you're either going to reject it or ignore it, or you just won't be able to take it in. And the dissonance and the discomfort between how you want to be perceived, or maybe how people are responding to you, and how you actually feel about yourself, caused me to numb out and look for distractions from actually sitting with that pain and coming through the other side of it. And that was just a cycle that played itself out over and over again. Because if you're looking to a relationship to give you something, and then even if you get that thing, you're not able to receive it, that's like a very painful cycle. At this point in my life, after playing that cycle out so many times, I finally do recognize all of my relationships as places to give love and to practice love. And I can also be receptive, but receptive without expectation, because I know that everything that I desire is already mine. And really what I'm looking out for is what channel it's going to come through, not from, because everything comes from God, but it comes through different channels. So you can just give freely without needing it to come from this specific channel, knowing that everything that you desire is already yours because God knows your heart. And just be open, because a lot of times what you want to receive is going to come in a much more extraordinary way than you could have even envisioned. So your limitations you were putting on, I need to receive it from this person or in this way, is actually blocking your blessings. So there's a balance between the masculine energy of taking your action on your inspiration and on your intuition, and also the softening and the opening to however God wants to provide for you. And that's a fine tuning that only happens through experience. And I've had many experiences and many relationships where I've gotten the opportunity to fine tune my vibration in that way. And at this point, I feel better about it than I ever have. Like I feel rooted in myself. I feel like I can contribute things. I know what my gifts are. Obviously, there's always more to learn and more to integrate, but I'm clear on the path. Like I'm not seeking the path anymore. I know the path, and now I'm just walking it. That feels like the high arching places of my journey. As far as the most specific manifestations, I guess I'll say two quick ones. One was Souls of San Francisco, where I walked the streets taking pictures and talking to strangers and really learning about life, not from books, like from actual human beings. And I was having 3 to 5 conversations a day, every day for like 5 years. So the amount of data that I took in on the human experience was extraordinary. And I learned more about life in that time than any other time in my life. I learned how to talk to people. I learned how to read emotions. I learned how to read energy. I learned how to tell the stories of people. I learned how to use media to create a movement. And at that time, I was still looking for the validation. So everything I was doing was like for good, but also like wanting to be validated that I was a good person. So eventually, I had to have life smash my ego down enough to where I was perceived in a way that I couldn't control. And then I had to deal with what was left, which was just my relationship with myself. And when I was able to, through deep meditation, really come to accept and love myself and know my own heart, I could release whatever external projections people would have of me, because I was like, I can't control that. And me trying to control that is causing me to be inauthentic because I don't want to be judged. But now you've already been judged and there's nothing you can do about it. So now just focus on being yourself and being the light of God to the best of your ability and let life unfold. And in that process, I got the inspiration to create Dharma Glow after going to a Landrell concert and seeing the way he used spiritual teachings and music to create a healing environment. I was like, that's what I want to do. And I set out to create this. I don't know if I would have called it this at the time, but it's like a cultural revolution. So it's just like bringing all of these things in a way that can be easily integrated. And that's through music, that's through poetry, that's through podcasting and conversation, that's through clothes. You know, everything is the same energy being communicated in different ways. So I went from a fan of Landrell's work to having other artists come in and play the glow up and create these community experiences with artists and healers, to participating in those things, to making my own music, to sharing the stage with all these artists that I love. That is the opportunity that I'm inviting everyone to take, is just to refine your sense of self, heal, and then express your unique individuality in a creative way with our community.
Wow. I have some tears running down my face right now because your transmission is just so clear, and your conviction to your path is so palpable, and the words that you speak just have such a deep and profound and true resonance within my being. Everything that you just shared, and that transmission felt like there was a little broom going through all of the little corners in my own psyche and like dusting up the cobwebs. And yeah, that was powerful. I need a
Thank
tissue.
you. And that's what I feel like it is to be Christ. This is what we're talking about. Because I didn't plan that. I didn't think about what I was going to say. Being Christ is like being empty and having it's like being a phone that's plugged into the Wi-Fi. The Christ consciousness is the Wi-Fi signal we're plugged into. So there's an openness to allow the energy to channel through. Then when you're allowing that energy to channel through, it's not just the words you're saying, it's the actual quality of the energy that's making the impact. So really, being a Christed being is just being a clear transmission of the energy.
Yeah. Christ is clear. It's Christos.
Christ means clear.
And I think this is a big part of the Christ consciousness awakening that we're here to weave, because for so long the story has been the God in the sky outside of ourselves. And so the attention and the awareness goes outward, and we outsource our sense of divinity to something outside, when that completely distracts us from what the essence of this path is, which is to create yourself as the container that can, or either create yourself as the container that can hold the flow of Christ consciousness, or for the Wi-Fi analogy, straighten up your antenna so it can actually connect to that Wi-Fi signal. And so it's always an inside job. And this path requires a lot of introspection and tending to the inner temple and cleaning the internal faculties so that your inner world is compatible to receive that divine download, that clear Christos energy. Like attracts like. You want clear Christos, Christ energy to flow through your being, well then you probably should wash your windows and iron the linens on the bed and create it into the place where that energy can actually settle into the being.
Ashe, 100%.